What is good with the YouTube? It is your boy, Sean Rock to the aka Lil Nicky V6, represent Mandatory Thrive HGBM because every day it is mandatory for us to thrive, and I am back again with another video. Before I start this video, I want to ask y'all to head over to Amazon.com, purchase my first published book, Give None Less Than 300, From the Basement, Mind, Body, and Soul. Great book, great read. It'll make you laugh, make you cry, and teach you a lesson. Link will be in the description. I want to talk a little bit more about semen retention, express a few more benefits, and just talk about its importance. The first thing I'm going to say is that in life, it's always best to do your best to be an anomaly. What is an anomaly? It's a rare person. It's someone that's in rare form, someone who chooses to do things that the general public just is not willing to do. Whenever you do those type of things, you're always going to be able to excel at a higher speed. Now, from an egotistical standpoint, that can inflate your ego. But I'm not saying it for that purpose. I'm saying it for the purpose of bettering yourself as well as bettering society, because the best you is always going to produce the best results for the people you love and more people around you. You got to lead by example. So being on semen retention is a great way to lead by example, right? It's going to make you a more patient man. It's going to make you a more consistent man. It's going to give you clear cognitive function so that you can excel at your plans and be reliable. And we know in today's time, a lot of people are just not typically reliable. So you're going to gain all of those benefits for with semen retention. Second thing I want to talk about is that on semen retention, you're going to be more spiritual. See, humans have a tendency to see things just based on what's right in front of them. But we know that 99% of, 80, maybe 80% of communication is nonverbal. I would say 80 to 99% of communication is nonverbal. When you're on semen retention, you're going to be more keen to the spiritual things, the things underneath, which again is going to help you to, protect yourself from things that aren't beneficial for you. It's going to help you protect yourself from things that's not beneficial for your loved ones, for the people that's in your care. So being on semen retention is going to make you have more keen awareness of spiritual things, right? The things that people don't see. The second part of that is also that it's going to give you a better connection with God, right? You're going to be closer to God. You're going to have a direct link, a direct connection, right? Because you're operating more consistently in a spiritual world, right? Not at such a low vibration. You're not really so concerned about the things that you see this world, food, clothing, and shelter, in terms of, glamour things and wanting to have all the finest things. You're going to be aware of real things that really matter in life, right? So being on semen retention is definitely going to make you a more spiritual being. I always say that Jesus Christ himself was the king of semen retention. He was on semen retention for 33 plus years, right? Never released. So he's the greatest example of the power of semen retention. Next, I'm celibate currently, but I haven't always been celibate while on semen retention. For the bulk of my time on semen retention, for about 10 months of my semen retention, I was sexually active, and I may have released maybe 3 times in that 10 months. And I will say this is one of the most powerful things about semen retention. Semen retention, if you practice it right, is definitely going to make you a better sexual lover. You're going to be more attentive to the needs of a woman. You're going to be more attentive to the body of a woman, and you're going to be able to perform at a higher rate. This is kind of weird to just say, but I mean, growing up, when you watch porn, you're trying to get that off as fast as possible, right? And then if you're selfish, you just worried about getting yourself off. You get what I'm saying? You're not really concerned about the pleasure of the woman, the intimacy, the connection, the deepness of the bond, the sexual union that you create. And you're not really invested in that. You just invested in your orgasm, and that's a selfish way of loving. And for me, semen retention helped me to kind of become better at that and perform better in terms of sexual performance, because I began to be more attentive to the needs of a woman, right? And also, if you take it a step further, you can become multi-orgasmic. There's 3 different types of orgasms that a man can perform, and 2 of them is non-ejaculatory. So these type of orgasms are far more intense and powerful. They're far more long-lasting. They're full-body orgasms. So you will be able to, perform in a way where you can have multiple orgasms without even releasing. Now, this is difficult. It takes a great amount of practice and self-control. They always say, from my research of reading and studying different philosophies on tantric sex and sex in general, that basically the way you practice masturbation 9 times out of 10 is going to be the way that you practice your sexual endeavors, which is why pornography use, and just masturbation in general, the way that we know it, is not really beneficial, because it teaches you instant gratification. It teaches you to have your senses heightened by a constant feed of visual stimulation that isn't realistic in life. If you've watched porn, you can flip through maybe 10, 15 women in 3 minutes, right? You can flip through, 10, 20, 30, 50 scenes in 30 minutes, which is going to give you a very distorted view of intimacy, a distorted view of sex, right? And you have these very high, and it's very distracting as well, because you're not totally there. You're not totally invested. You're basically looking at one thing and trying to find something to stimulate that dopamine and get that high. You're constantly doing this, and that's just not how regular sex is. So you're training your body to perform in a way that's not optimal, right? It's not beneficial. It's almost like a sprint versus a marathon, right? You're teaching yourself to sprint and burn out and crash out, versus teaching yourself to endure and have stamina and be long lasting, right? And then you're teaching yourself to be desensitized to real human connection and real intimacy. Semen retention rewires all of that. And the fourth thing is that the benefit of semen retention is that it helps restore the dopamine levels, right? When I'm actively practicing semen retention, growing up, watching porn, always, looking for that high, because you get dopamine hits from whatever you do. It could be television, it could be social media, it could be smoking a blunt, getting drunk. Growing up, a lot of different dopamine hits was coming my way. So what this does is it desensitizes your reward system, and it makes life very, very boring and very dissatisfying. When you get on semen retention, some of the things that I've noticed is that I find great satisfaction in work. I find great satisfaction in the basic fundamental things, having a great meal, reading a book, sitting down, meditating, spending time with myself, things that were very, very um, exciting and satisfying in my younger years when I was a kid, before I started to get very distorted and my dopamine started to get, pretty much jacked up. Semen retention is one of those tools that can kind of help you, not necessarily eliminate those things, but definitely rewire you back to your normal state. And then it's gonna, help you with your confidence. It's gonna help you, you know, for me, it helped me appreciate conversations with a woman, connections with a woman, just basic, simple things that when, constantly releasing and constantly, watching porn and constantly just doing things, getting all these random dopamine hits, just weren't satisfying, weren't boring. I mean, weren't fun, but was very, very, very boring and very redundant and seemed mundane in my way of frame of thinking. Like, it just felt whack. It felt out of whack. And semen retention has kind of helped to remove that barrier and kind of replace that childlike mindset, that childlike embrace to the basic fundamental things of life. In today's society, we're very desensitized to so much, because stimulation at this particular time is at the all-time high. You can access so much like that, and you got social media, you got TV, you got the world, you got drugs, you got all these different things fighting for our dopamine hits. And when you got all this stimulation constantly happening, it's very, very easily to get overly stimulated, overly burnt out, become anxious, depressed, and various other different things. And semen retention is one of those tools to kind of help balance things out. It brings that strong confidence back. It brings that zeal for life. Like,